On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, I have cooties. The Greenland deal is real. AimPoint and Glock come together. And cock blocked by Blaser. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 359 of the John1911 Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January the 8th at, let's see here, I got to timestamp it. It is 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our first podcast of 2025. That's going to be really weird saying. You remember back in the day when you used to have to write checks and the first week or two you'd put the previous year. Did you ever do that?
I still do, because on all the paperwork that I used to have to sign daily, always after New Year's, and remember, these were always in triplicate, I always messed it up, always, for the first week or so.
Yeah, we all, yeah. So I don't think the kids today know what that's like. I mean, they don't have to sign the date anymore. So, well,
Probably not.
we are recovering from the great snow, and I'm recovering from the great flu. You didn't even realize I was sick. Um, I
No, you had went underground, so I figured something was up.
Yeah, I had to go out of town for business last minute and had all my meetings very quickly, and then I realized I was getting sick, and I was like, oh my God, like I get the flu. Not that I'm going to be morbid, but I just, it's something weird with me. I've always, if I get, it's the one disease that really, really, really makes me sick. And I've said this for years, as I get older, the flu will probably kill me. And it's that bad. And I realized, I was like, oh God, I've got something. And so I wasn't supposed to fly back for a couple of days. And the only way I was like, I got to get out of here. So I, booked a bunch of stuff and ended up flying down through Atlanta just to get, and I was sick the entire time. And I'm trying not to act sick so they don't throw me off of airplanes. And I'll tell you, it was miserable. And I'm like, I
I
mean, I'm, yeah, shaking and sweating and coughing, and I still have a little bit of a cough. I don't know if you can tell now, if I may have to use a mute button, but I'm better now.
Did you wait? Did you get a flu shot this year?
I did not. I normally
Well,
do get the flu shot. I kind of made it a habit to start getting the flu shot. I don't know, probably about 15 years ago, maybe closer to 20. But I did not get the flu shot. Well, part of the reason why I didn't get a flu shot is my doctor died. So not to be morbid.
Well, they make all kinds of drugstores. You walk in, and the pharmacist gives it to you.
They closed
The
them all.
flu shot.
Yeah, they don't have. I mean, I don't know what fancy place you live, but in Ohio, they closed all the drugstores. I mean,
Well, but the bird flu is going around.
yeah, I actually took a test and I tested for influenza A. I tested positive. It was a test you can take for it's a COVID and flu test, and I tested positive for
Uh-huh.
influenza A, so negative for influenza B and COVID. So
Well,
it's all, they're just packaging it as one. I mean, the COVID is just the cold, I think. So yeah, it was terrible, and I was like, oh man,
well, I hope you're on the mend.
I am. Doing good. Back at it. I'm able to look at a computer screen, so that's good. Um, you know,
Well, where do you want to start? I've got, I personally thought that maybe you were up on the Canadian border, scouting out land ahead of Trump, or maybe you were trying to deal with some eminent domain, or I had no idea.
hey, look. I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. Well, like if Trump can score Greenland, I'm all about it. I've always been
So
about
am
it.
I.
I was about it 4 years ago, and I think it's a good deal. What's you'll notice what's interesting with that is, it's like, well, the Netherlands, they control Greenland's foreign policy and something, and they subsidize Greenland too, and they're like, Greenland's not for sale, and so all of a sudden, all the people in Greenland are like, well, I mean, what would you give us? And so now all of a sudden, there's a push. Greenland's like, we're going to declare our independence, and it's like, well, it's because whoever technically is the sovereign of the island is the one that gets the money. So all of a sudden, Greenland's like,
Oh my
yeah, no
gosh.
one's saying it like that, But it's just like, okay, I see what's going on here. It's like all of a sudden Greenland's like, yeah, we could be totally independent, and maybe we get that check. So I don't.
Well,
We'll see.
to be honest with you, my money. This is just me.
Hmm.
My money is on Trump going back and taking Panama in some way, shape, or form, the canal. I really feel that's going to happen.
I mean, I don't think it's in
Hey, we
either
built
or.
it. We paid for it.
Yeah,
That idiot Carter sold it for $1.
yeah. I remember. I mean, we all old enough. See, the thing is today, I would say the average person today doesn't understand. To them, that's ancient history. We remember when that happened, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, a fun fact. Remember John McCain? They tried to say that John
Yes,
McCain couldn't be president because he was born in the canal zone. I don't know what, in the
correct.
20s or the 30s, 30s, 40s, 30s. Maybe it was in the no. I guess it'd have been in the probably the 40s. Um, and they tried, but it's like, well, no, that was U.S. territory. So, or maybe it wasn't U.S. Well, I don't remember how it was. There was a strip. I guess it was kind of U.S. territory. That strip, the canal zone, it was. So, I mean,
Well, I'll tell you how I look at it. Back when it was built, the United States engineered it. The United States lost over 30,000 people due to malaria building the thing. We paid for everything. Now I get a kick out of this this little upstart, the president of Panama, telling Trump that we're not going to listen to you, we're this and that on one hand. And then on the other hand, he's asking the United States for over $2 billion. This is the president of Panama because there are leaks and a lot of it needs to be reworked, and they want us to pay for it. But yet, when an American ship goes through there, especially our warships, Panama charges $500,000 to $1 million per lockage of each ship.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yes,
That's
yes,
confirmed, right? You're not. I'm not going to get an email from somebody
no,
saying it's not
no.
500. Okay.
I had read that, and to me it seemed a little bit astronomical. I could dig deeper, but that is what I read today.
A couple of like Trump. I mean, like, how do I say this? Trump's not even president. He's got the Netherlands all stirred up. He's got Canadians all stirred up. He's got the Mexicans all stirred up. He's got the Iranians, Hamas, and Hezbollah all stirred up. He's got the Panamanians stirred up. And I know he's got the Chinese nervous. And he's got a lot of these fools in NATO that don't pay their 2% quaking in their boots. And I mean,
I'm proud of Trump this let me say this quickly. I'm proud of Trump this time because in his back pocket he always will have the military might of the United States. He's trying to economically break these bastards until they come to his way of thinking. And they will cough up their money. I'll bet on it.
well, let's go back. Let's back up to Panama for a minute. So here's a couple things. Like, I have not looked at this issue recently, but what I often know off the top of my head is number one is the Panama Canal hasn't been running well. As odd as it sounds, if I recall, unless the situation's changed in the past 9, 10, 12 months, the last time I looked at it, is that the Panama Canal is having issues with water because the water for the Panama Canal doesn't come from the oceans. It actually comes from
A
the
lake.
land around it, and it's kind of routed in like you route water in from a parking lot. And so I guess there hasn't been as much rainfall, so the canal's been having issues. Obviously, there's some engineering that needs to be done to make it better, and like we're the kind of country that would do it. The second thing is the Chinese. I can't remember if they've built a canal or they're planning on building a canal. There's a whole second canal down there that the Chinese are trying to be involved in.
Well, what the Chinese are involved in is on each end of the canal there is shipping ports waiting to go to and from and through the canal.
Hmm.
The Chinese are controlling each end's shipping ports.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be, yeah. I mean, the, the bookend what you just said. The reality is, I mean, you could say maybe Donald Trump's trying to negotiate better terms for the U.S. and the canal, and maybe he'll be happy with that. I don't think he knows exactly where he's going to land. I think he's poking the bear to see what can happen. But I think it is entirely possible that, we end up taking over the Panama Canal. If
I fully
anything,
agree with
if
I agree
anything,
with that.
because it would be easier to defend it, because the Panama Canal is going to function one of two ways. You're either going to defend it or you're going to push it. Means you're going to come through it, through with force. And so, and like this kind of stuff isn't, the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, the Straits of Malacca, and then the Bosporus Straits down there at the bottom of the Black Sea below Ukraine. The reason why the Russians always wanted to keep naval assets in Syria is so they could have naval facilities and warships and military combat power on both sides of the Bosporus Strait. So if the balloon goes up in Europe, the Black Sea fleet would come out of the Black Sea, and they would try to, there's the Montrose thing with the Turks, like no ship involved in war can go through the Bosphorus Straits. And it's like, well, one of the big battles that's going to happen is the Russians are going to force the straits, and we're going to attack them at the straits. Well, having that shit behind you in Syria is what that issue is. I don't know off the top of my head what the order of battle is for the Navy, on either side of the Panama Canal, but defending it and having it basically as an unsinkable aircraft carrier with bases and naval facilities down there, and you can push the Chinese and everybody else away, certainly is not a bad way to go. I
Well,
think it makes a lot of sense.
I agree with you. And you talk about Trump poking the bear. He got Trudeau to quit, didn't he? Yes. Yes. You don't think that Trump had all kinds of influence on that guy, basically making him scared in his boots? I do.
You
I
know,
do.
Trump is an interesting. I mean, may you live in interesting times. I'm telling you, like Donald Trump is just. He's not even president yet. He's not president for another like 2 weeks. And it's just, holy
He commands
shit.
that much respect, though.
I mean, that motherfucker he's just swinging that bat all over the place. And
Yeah, he is.
and like, there's a couple things here. Let's talk about Canada, a little of the history of Canada for a minute. Again, I haven't looked at this recently, but off the top of my head, and you may remember this. In our lifetime, I don't know if it was in the 90s or in the late 80s, but Canada, there was some kind of referendum or vote to possibly break up Canada. Um, Canada, I would not consider is not a very cohesive country, and it's become less cohesive. Um, they have a lot of economic problems. People look at Canada and think it's a huge country, and it is. Canada has the entire giant country of Canada has the population of California, which is a lot of people. It's 40 million people. California's population is 40 million people. The idea, like, I think, was Ohio 11? We have 11 million people, just to give you an idea. Most people that live in Canada the population live within, like, is it 200 miles of the border with
Ontario
America?
province.
Well, no, just
Yeah.
no, the entire, no, across the entire width of Canada from British Columbia over there above, Oregon or Washington up there, whatever that is. And then, all the way up above Maine, most Canadians live with like a few hundred miles of the US border. Like 90% of the population. Like it's just not it's not a deep country. And, they have a lot of problems with, they have a declining birth rate and all that kind of stuff. So what they tried to do to solve some of that is they basically have had this mass immigration going on. But what's happened is with all their hippie policies on building stuff, like the inflate, like no one can afford a house in Canada. It's the strangest thing because there's all these people coming in, they're buying all, have this money, they're buying all the property, and then people that live there, no one can afford anything. So and
And
then like,
their inflation rate is through the ceiling.
yeah, and then like, just, the stuff that Trudeau has done, their behavior on, again, well, I'm going to say guns, but they're, like the shit that they pulled with the truckers and like going after people's bank accounts and just like the law. It's just, I mean, this is, I hate to say this to my Canadian neighbors, but like, you live in a shithole country. You're a little asshats up there. Like people think Canada, like there's a reason why all these people in America are like, I'm gonna move to Canada, and they're like they never do. And it's like, everyone in Canada wants to move to the U.S. And I've heard this for years, going back to the breakup policy with Canada. I've heard like I don't know I don't know all the provinces of Canada, but like when you're out there in Montana and or yeah, Montana borders Canada, right? That's the top one. Wyoming's
Yes, it
below,
does.
Montana's above. I mean, my understanding is the culture of the average person, say in Montana, on the Montana side of the border versus the Canadian side of the border, they're very similar. People in like Western Canada, I have heard, and it'd be interesting if people podcast at John1911.com and give me some feedback on this. I've heard have a very it would they have a very, I would call that Western self-sufficient outlook, and I think a lot of those people, if given a chance, you know I'm not saying this idea we're going to make Canada a 51st state, because I think it would swamp a lot of our stuff. You'd have to make them a territory first anyway, but I don't know, breaking up parts of Canada and making some of those US territories and then slowly letting them become states. That's real appealing to me. That's real appealing to me. It really is.
Well, here's
And
the
it's
thing.
and it's appealing to a lot of Canadians.
Most great generals, they have fought wars on two fronts. Trump's fighting them on five fronts, and I think he enjoys it. I really do. I really think he enjoys all these sticks in the fire, and you don't know which one he's going to pull out next. I just love it. I just love it because if I had a lot of money, I would be investing every dime I had in antacid companies because Trump is going to make Trump is going to make these people
Hold on.
millionaires.
Hold on. Okay, I had to hit the mute button. Sorry. Sorry. I still have it in my throat or in my lungs. So yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Trump, it'll be on the shelf. Trump antacid in a gold bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Never to the left; it's always to the right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on a good roll
You're
tonight.
doing pretty good. Oh,
But
oh,
so anyway, when you guys had Snowmageddon, over the weekend, my youngest son was driving back from Florida, and a 12-hour drive took him 24 hours because the interstates down by you were closed. So he had to get off and do all secondary routes through every state to come back up this way.
yeah. 75 was
It
closed.
was 65 was terrible.
Yeah,
Everything was terrible.
yeah. We got the John 911 range got over 11 inches of snow.
Eh, we used to get those 2 and 3 times a week.
Yeah, you're in Chicago, so like 11 inches of snow for us is kind of a big deal. I'm not going to say it's like like the city just is destroyed. It's like, okay, they have all little counties, and it takes them a while. And the thing is, we get enough snow here in what I call the greater Cincinnati area that we have to deal with snow. Like, there's places south of us, like I'd say in like southern Kentucky, where they're basically like, we haven't used a snow plow in 5 years. We don't need to put money in those. And then boom, something happens, and then they can't deal with it. We have enough snow plows here that, we can deal with shit. It might be take a little bit, but it's not like we deal with it every winter. It's just, we normally get like two or three or four. Like a 4 inch snow for us is kind of that's kind of getting on the bigger side. We get like, I don't know, anything bigger than say 7 inches, maybe 10 inches, like once about a decade. Just give them all the best I can, maybe 6, 7 years, enough that you remember the last one. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I
I
mean,
mean, you guys are messed up out there. First, you let your rivers run dry, and then you get snow and you can't plow it. It's like unbelievable.
what do
You
you mean the
guys,
rivers run dry? What are you talking about? The Ohio River doesn't run dry. Trust me, if the Ohio
it,
River ran dry, the economics of America would collapse. So
it ran really low once. You don't remember that?
I may not have been here. I'm not originally from here. The Ohio
Oh,
River?
it did. Yeah, the river and
You mean
that goes through
it
Cincinnati.
froze over? You sure you're
I
thinking the river froze? Like I heard it froze. Like there
oh,
was the big
I thought it. The
there was
water levels were really super low one time.
I don't know anything about that. Like, I know that it froze during some big blizzard here in the 70s. They still talk about it. People were walking across the river. Nah, I mean, the river's a flood here. I've
Yeah,
never seen
that's.
yeah. No,
I
no, no.
bet you. I bet you California wishes they had a flood about right now.
God, that is
It's
just,
it's terrible. It's terrible. And then then your granddaddy Biden, he flew out there today. And did you see at the press conference what he said?
was this the one where he's like, the bad news is all the houses burned
Yeah,
down. The
and then
good
the
news
good news is he's
is
a great grandfather in the middle of all this death and destruction. He says, "Yeah, I got good news. I am a great granddad." And people just looked at him like people are
yeah.
living in the streets. Are you kidding me?
I keep hearing,
We
like every time you open up the papers and you look, it's like all these famous people or people that I guess are famous. Like I don't really know who they are, but like all these people that you would know that have lost their houses. James Woods lost his house. Spencer
they
Pratt
yeah,
lost
some
his
what did they
house.
call it? Like not millionaires row or something
And
akin to that.
it's Pacific Palisades is the neighborhood, and I guess it's over next to Malibu. And
Right.
there's like all these like television people and soap opera people and just all these people. I guess that's where they would all live. You're not going to live in the ghetto.
Well,
So,
and now the fire is now the way it's going, bordering on Brentwood, which we all know is a very very exclusive area too.
oh yeah, I'm very
So
familiar with Brentwood.
and well, Mrs. Danny and I, we were in Malibu last year, and
Oh, that's
we were just
right.
yeah, remember, and we
I,
were just awestruck at we look at ourselves and we look at these homes and it's not a gated community, it's a gated home, and it's like what do these people do for a living? And I remember never forget this. When we went down by the beach, there was a restaurant. We're going there to eat, which had giantly inflated prices anyway, but you had to pay $15 for the right to park in their parking lot to go to right to pay to eat.
I remember
I'll never forget.
you were sending me text message. You were so pissed. You were
Yeah, I
so
mean,
pissed.
what the, for I'm a Midwestern boy. We're not used to this kind of hoity-toity stuff.
Yeah,
It's it was now, and where that restaurant is now, it might be right. Well, let's just say they might have their
gone.
parking lot that they charge $15 for, all nice and seal coated by flame.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I
It's
heard another rumor. I don't know if like I don't know how true this is, but it seems like it would be true. So, there's obviously, a lot of problems in these places because, they don't let the rivers run, they don't keep the water, they don't build reservoirs. And so they don't have enough water for this kind of stuff. They don't they don't burn the underbrush in these forests. You remember they used to
Right.
burn all this stuff.
Yes, right. And they
Hmm.
used to do tree management.
And they don't do it anymore because of all the environmentalists. And now one thing pops off and the whole thing just blows up. So what's happened is there's been more and more and more fires. And so the insurance rates have been going up and up and up. And the insurance companies came in and they're like, we're gonna because they get regulated every insurance like how home insurance is state by state. It's regulated by the state, and so they basically they applied to the state and they're like we got to raise rates on our homeowners, on our policyholders in California in certain areas, especially fire prone areas and flood prone areas. And California's like, you're you're done. You're not going to approve this. And you're like, are you sure? Because we got to make these numbers work. And they're like, no, you're not, fuck you, insurance company. You're not going to raise the rates. So guess what they did? All the insurance companies left.
Yes,
And
they
so
did.
I keep hearing there's all these super wealthy people in these expensive houses and they don't have insurance. And I'm like, you have got to be shitting me. Holy fuck. And then I said, okay, if I'm a high net worth individual, and high net worth out there can mean different things for different people. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in this big ass house, a major part of my net worth, and I have no coverage over this. I'd be like, the first thing I would do would be like, I'd be calling Lloyd's of London and I'd be like, write me a fucking policy. I mean, Lloyd's of London
Yep,
will
I
insure
agree.
anything. And you are
Oh,
literally
you're
going to
going to
take
pay
it,
for it,
you're
though.
going to take it right up the ass. But then here's the thing. It's like, then I would want to sell it. I got insurance and I got to get out of here. But here's the thing, if you can't get insurance, that means the new owner can't get insurance. And it's probably getting around. You might not be able to sell your property. And it's
That's
like,
a
this is a disaster.
that's a good segue into what I was going to ask. Let's say these people all these multi-million dollar homes, which they've burnt. Okay. Well, they're going to bulldoze the whole thing over. Will that make that property more expensive or not worth anything now? Because there's nothing on it but the oceanfront property.
Okay, so that brings up another question. So I turned on cable news tonight and I turned on Fox News. And so a lot of people listening to this have probably seen the same thing I saw. I don't normally watch cable news, but I saw this guy. And so they're talking to this man, and it was some trailer park again, but it's probably $1 million trailers. So he's talking. He's like, it all burned down, and he goes, yeah. He goes, I bought a house in '93 and he named some actor from Happy Days in Malibu. He's like, I bought a house from so and so, the famous actor from Happy Days in 1993. It's my dream house, and it burned down. And then he goes, I went to rebuild. And in the process of rebuilding, there was an arson incident, and it burned down again. And then he said he decided to rebuild again. He was doing something. And then it all burned down again in 1990 or no, in 2006. And so he was in the process of rebuilding from that and doing all this updates. And he was living in this trailer park and whatever this nice thing was. And I'm saying to myself again, forget the arson, but it's like, all right, okay, wait a minute. You're telling me I'm a businessman here, and I'm just like, okay. So you built this fucking house, and it burned down in 1993, and you're telling me it burned down again in like 2006, and maybe I misunderstood, but it burned down at least twice. This is the third time it's burned down, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? I mean, if this is going to sound real shitty, and I don't know how else to put it, but I'm talking about property in Malibu is so expensive. That's rich people, okay? So if you're a
Right.
poor person, if you're not worth whatever and you're considered poor, I got news for everyone in this conversation is considered poor. Then it's like you have a house and you're in a floodplain and your house gets destroyed in a flood. then you rebuild, and then 10 years later, your house gets destroyed in a flood. And then then like you rebuild again, and then 10 years later, your house is destroyed in a flood. At some point, people come in and go, "You're done. Fuck you. You're done. We're not allowing any more construction here because this is crazy and it's costing everybody too much money and too much drama and too much headache, and nobody can get it insured." And it's like, if this area is burning down as much as what this man is saying, I mean, it's like, I'd be like, well, I got bad news for everybody. All these, let's say like there's 500 houses on this hill in this area. And it's like, they cram all these houses into like, it's like a half acre lot, or maybe it's an acre, or maybe it's a 1.5 acres, and just all this giant shit. I'd be like, well, minimum building size now was going to be 30 acres because you got to have setbacks, you got to have fire breaks. I'd be like, I would not allow, I would at least have to explore the possibility of not allowing people to rebuild, stacking all this stuff next to each other, where it just goes up constantly. At some point you're like, what are you doing? And here's what's interesting. All these people out there, they're concerned about pollution. They're concerned about the environment. They're concerned about all the shit in the air. They're concerned about all the shit in the water. And you're telling me that we all have to do all this crazy horse shit. You know, Freaking the toilets don't work, the showers don't work, the diesels don't work, the appliances don't work, all this shit, so you can have this house that you keep burning up and then flooding out into the lowlands, and it's just swamping everything, and we have to do this 3 times in 30 years, and somehow we're not green, but somehow you're okay. It's like, this is insane. All this shit that's going on out there. You've got all these rules for all this shit that doesn't work. You got these fire departments that don't work. They don't manage these forests. You can't hire anybody to work for the fire department anymore. You can't bring in the water because of the stupid fish. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is it over in California? I guess it's never over, but I guess now there'll be another wave of people
Excuse me.
that are going to be like, "Fuck you, I'm moving to Tennessee. Fuck you, I'm moving to Florida." Like they've,
Yeah,
you, yeah.
it's going to be crazy. I see a mass exodus from the coastal region of California. I really do. I really do.
Who can afford that?
So, well,
And then
this was my question. Is this going to make the property even more valuable, or is it going to diminish in the value?
well, if there's enough demand, it'll make it just as valuable. But then the thing is too, it's like, all right, all these people that don't have insurance. And then there's still going to be a bunch of people that had their houses burned down that do have insurance. And those insurance companies, they can't take on all the people that don't have insurance. You know what I mean? They can only take on so much insurance because if there's a fire, they get wiped out as a company. They have to have diversification across different economic models and in different tranches of money. And
Right.
it's like, I, even if your house didn't burn down, what's your house insurance? What's your homeowner's insurance going to look like next year? Or
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
or maybe they'll be like the rest of the companies will leave California and nobody has insurance. At what point do people just go, I can't take this anymore? Like, if you're Jeff Bezos and your $1 billion yacht sinks, that sucks, but you could probably survive it. I don't know how. There's not a whole lot of people. Not only are you losing a $6 million house, but you're losing a $6 million house worth of shit in the inside of it.
Right.
And it's like that could be another $3 to $6 million, and it's like there's not too many people that can take that more than once in their lives. Like, I don't understand. Like, I look at this, and as a business person, I don't understand how these numbers work. I don't understand how any of this works anymore. I don't think it works. I don't know if I'd even want to consider rebuilding out there unless it's the whole Kanye thing. Kanye was yelling at Kim Kardashian. He's like, "You just all out here for the check." You hate living out here. You're just out here for the check. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe they have to stay. I just don't even understand it, you know?
No, but they, we could dwell on this all night. Oh, I watched your video of the Wilson teardown.
Mm.
I didn't understand a damn thing, but anyway.
I
No,
did a
I
detailed strip of the Wilson
yes, I watched.
XLNL.
I watched it. I was really surprised at the slide not being more worn. I really was.
Yeah, 11,000 rounds. Yeah, I mean, every little,
I was surprised.
yeah. People look at every little piece, every little part. That gun, I think that gun easily could go 100,000 rounds. I mean, you never really know, but I've heard Wilson has test mules when they were first doing those guns, and they were doing the test mules, and they were the 4-inch model, the little smaller ones, and they had 100,000 rounds on those test mules. I've
And no
heard that
fatigue
from,
cracks or nothing.
I've heard that from more than one source that they have.
Well,
Yeah,
here's the thing, though. Is it the old adage, you get what you pay for? But then again, let's look at it on a realistic. You have to be a certain person of a certain income level or a certain whatever to own a Wilson. The rest of us, own a Glock or an M&P or something. So it's like, do they build it with better and more superior parts and better metallurgy? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But the average Joe, the average masses, can't afford those.
yeah. I mean, when in doubt, buy a Glock. There's just no two ways about it. It's if you want to be in the whole 1911 game. Kraken bought a he just bought another Thesis, and he did a. You'll notice he put a little something. He's like, I bought this Thesis Aviator. It's like basically a combat commander clone gun. It's two-tone gun. He got some deal on it. Like he has like no money in this gun, and this thing like was a dumpster fire. Like, all of a sudden, like it disappeared. Like he was like, oh look, because we've had some decent. I mean, well, I guess if I say technically 50% of the Thesis guns we've had have broken. But I guess that's not bad. So, but well, all of a sudden he was like this, like he's like this thing's a piece of shit. Like it wouldn't feed a bunch of different ammo, and then it wouldn't even group. Like I was looking at the groups at 15 yards. I was like, what the hell's wrong with this gun? Then it was like shooting shit back in his face, which is fine. You can tune that. I mean, with the 1911, especially a traditional extractor, we can all handle that. But he's like, why would I even do that? This fucking gun. I mean, this gun was shooting like great. I mean, like it was. I don't know, like a 10-inch group or something at 15 yards. And he was like,
It shot like a raven.
yeah, oh my God. It was like, is this real? Like, are you ganking this? He's like, no, I've never seen anything like this. Just something about the gun. So he got rid of it quick. I don't know. I don't know what he did to get rid of it, but that bitch, he's gone. And, yeah, that disappeared from our social media. But, we have so, there's a new Wilson. There's actually a secret third Wilson that I haven't actually shown publicly, that will come later in the year. But there's a new Wilson. There's this Project One gun. Remember, did you seen videos of the gun with the porting that I'm shooting that's ported?
Yes, they
Yeah,
did.
that's the new hot shit Wilson. And so that gun is, I have to check. Let me check the gun broker listing. So there's been, I mean, we had to pay full retail for the gun, but there's a limited amount of them. And let me do.
Oh, is that the one that's like number 63 of 250, things like that? Is it one of
Yeah,
them?
yeah,
Yeah, you
of
were
of
you
a
were you were
hundred.
telling me about that.
The
Or whatever it is.
it's
Number 6 of 100 or whatever.
yeah, it's we have number 24 of 100. Where's all the
Aren't you special?
well, it's whatever Wilson gave me. But is this it? It looks so like these guns on Gunbroker. I mean, they're full retail on these guns is like special limited edition gun with a challenge coin and this fancy case and and all this extra stuff is like I think MSRP is like $4,400. It's an expensive gun. Like there's just no two
Yeah.
ways about it. They're getting high sixes, and I've seen two of them go over $7,000 on Gunbroker, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Seven
That
G's,
that's in the and I
and it's like
picked up
they're
an
making
M&P for yeah, wait.
yeah.
I
It's
picked up
like
an M&P for 399. So let's go from there.
I mean, but it's like they're still making more. I mean, they're not going to do the limited run, but they're going to keep making these guns. Like I don't understand. Like I mean, if I wasn't able to get one because Wilson was nice and we were able to get one, but didn't give it to us. They did not give it to us, but they first they said no and like they were like they're all gone. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Then they called back and they're like, you want it? And I was like, yes. So we took it. But it's like if we wouldn't have been able to get one, I was like, I was pretty interested in a gun because it's the 5-inch version of that gun I did the detail strip on. I mean, I'm not going to pay 7 grand for that aftermarket. I just feel like they're going to release another group of these guns. They've already said they are. There's going to be either another limited run or there's going to be a regular run. Like they've got so much into this Project One design with the ports and everything and the new, the new grip and all that. Like they're going to make every one of these guns. It's going to be like Porsche. Porsche is always going to make more 911s. Porsche will never stop. And it's like you don't have to sit there and like pay over MSRP for a 911. You just wait, and we'll make you another one. And it's like, okay, like I don't know why some of these dudes are doing this. I guess it's because they're collectible, but the joke is there's 100 of these guns that are collectible, and now it's really only 99 because I've already got 1,000 rounds through ours and put it in Kydex holsters and scratch it and do all this stuff. So it's like this one's not connect. This one's not. Excuse me. This one's not collectible. Hold on. Sorry about that. I have to clear my throat. So,
Well, if you
um,
don't feel good, you don't feel good.
no, I feel great actually, but I mean, I just have a little bit, in my throat. So, and other gun stuff. Speaking of, I'm glad you brought this up. Speaking of Glock, because Shot Show's coming, and so
I
stuff is starting to come out, and AimPoint and Glock, um, and it's not that different. Wilson, what they did with this gun we were just talking about, the $7,000 gun, is they also changed how they mount a red dot to it. They've got this system now where you can these different pins, and you just like it, you can put like 90 95% of all red dots you can fit on this gun. And so you don't need a plate. Well, because that's a custom feature. And we've been going to red dots on pistols for a while, but I feel like the standard of what's going to end up being the standard 100 years from now hasn't really been hit yet. I think we're getting closer. I think the Wilson system's getting us closer. Wilson basically said, we're going to make the back of the slide fatter because it's our gun, and then we can put the big red dots on it. Glock just did a deal with AimPoint, and they have a new enclosed red dot called the COA red dot. And so Glock has a custom run of guns. They're doing it the model 45, and then I think there's the slim line, but it's got this new cut in the slide. It doesn't use a plate. And this cut is designed specifically with this new red dot. So the red dot like clips down in the slide with ledges, and then they screw a rear iron across the back of it, and this thing mounts straight onto a Glock sight. It looks pretty robust, and it's very low profile. And it's like that's really interesting. But I mean, you're pretty committed, you know what I mean? Like you're very committed to that footprint, like because I mean that's the red dot. You're not even going to get a plate for this cut. You probably not. I mean, I'm not going to say there's not going to be some company out there in the like 30 years from now, if you've run across one of these COA Glocks, and if it doesn't become some kind of standard, that there's some guy that's not going to be like, I'm going to make you a custom plate. I'll just mill you out one custom, and then we can mount whatever we want on top of it. But it's super interesting, and I think it's intriguing, and I think it might be worth looking at for because I like the full size Glocks, And so I kind of was interested in getting a Glock 45, which is their kind of Glock 17 with the shorter slide or something, I think it is. So, I thought that was interesting. And then, do you remember Blaser, right? I used the Blaser rifles. You may not remember exactly what they are, but like it's these bougie
Well,
German.
remember when you drove 4 hours to go shooting? You broke a firing pin. You didn't have a spare. Yeah, I
Oh,
remember.
oh yeah, yeah. You fucking remember? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Is that what
yeah,
you're thinking?
yeah, yeah. I was with the SWAT team. Drove all the way. Fucking all of a sudden, why aren't you shooting, Marky? Nah, my fucking gun's dead. Um. So,
I bet you don't make that mistake again.
I mean, yeah, but
Oh,
the firing pin is like this gun. The firing pin is not free floated. It's actually attached. So it's like you can't really have a spare firing pin. You can, but it's super. Of course, think like Ferrari. Imagine like getting a part for a fucking Ferrari. It's like a firing pin on a Blazer is like a part for a Ferrari. You just can't do it yourself. It's a nightmare. So anyway,
oh, which reminds me, real quick, how much is an oil change in your car
every
if you take it to the dealer?
I think it was like $1,300.
Double that for Junior's car.
Does he still have that, or did he sell? I thought he sold
Yes.
it.
Yeah, no. He's got, I'll send you the picture afterwards of Mrs. Danny sitting in it.
What's his
He's got
highest offer?
another new, he's got that new one. He's got that new one now, their sports one.
Wait a minute, there's a new one.
Yeah, it's got like two horizontal lugs, like ski racks on the top it comes with. I'll send you a picture.
Oh yeah, the we're talking about the Lamborghini. We're talking about the what does Lamborghini call their off-road Lamborghini? What do they call that car? What's it called? You remember? I don't remember.
Expensive.
Expensive. Yeah. So if you don't know the
It's
name,
not,
you can't
no.
afford it.
He got rid of the Aventador and he got this one
That's right.
because there's only so many. Remember the guy in Miami,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all right, and then he's on like you
Did
had
that did that
told
end up
everybody on the.
did that end up being the guy that I said it was in Miami?
I believe it was. I never
Okay.
really dove deep into it,
Can I
but
say can I say the guy's name?
no,
Okay.
don't
All right.
because he might be going through this because Junior's on the list ahead of this other guy. You know what I mean? He gets him first,
Ooh,
so
okay.
it's
Yeah,
you know
that all that crazy bullshit. Yeah, I can't
right
even. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I
Yeah,
can't even. Like
and
there's a GT2 or GT3 RS for sale at my Porsche dealer, and I am confident if I walk in there and say I want to buy this car, they wouldn't sell it to me because I haven't
at list
bought,
are banked up.
or I don't even know. I figured they probably would be like, you haven't bought enough cars from us. I've heard stories that you can't. Porsche's even getting that way. Like the dealers are getting that way that they won't sell you their Halo car unless you're a really good customer. I don't. Maybe someone who knows more about Porsches than me. I mean, I bought my Porsche used, so I don't even know. But yeah. But
It's
see,
it's
what I'm explaining to the listener is, your son is deep into relationships with dealers. He is like their good customer. And so,
yes.
yeah. So, and being the good customer, when they call and they got one, you best take it. It's understood you want it, and it's understood they're going to offer it. They're counting on the sale. So, and I'm not trying to speak for your son, but because I've obviously
No.
I've never had that kind of relationship, but that's what I've always imagined it's like.
Well, they know
So,
he's if he calls and says, you know, I want it. Check check your text.
all right, it makes great for a great podcast content. You sent it to somebody else because did you send an email or did you send a text?
I sent a text.
Let me text
It's still
test you.
loading.
Oh, okay, because I don't see it. It hasn't come in yet. Um,
It
yes,
will.
you got
I
some.
don't know.
Is this a
Did
picture?
you? Yeah, and you know who's in the driver's seat?
Yeah. So I can't publish this on the website, right?
No,
Can
no.
I can I go out on the internet and find a generic PR photograph of this car from Lamborghini and post that?
Possibly. Did you get the picture yet or not yet?
No, not, no. Hit send, Grandpa. I don't know else to talk. I
You
don't
know,
know.
I've told the squirrels to speed up in running around the little wheels for the internet around here, but
Yeah, yeah. He's still running your original iPhone. Here it is. Oh yeah. Okay. I won't say the color because that probably would narrow it down because there's so few of these. I
but
tell you what,
right there.
that's a cool car. That is a, I
You
mean,
think so?
I like this one way more than the other one.
The Aventador?
Yeah, well, yeah, I like this one way more.
I like that. I like that hot toddy in the driver's seat.
She's a cute, she's a cutie.
Oh yeah, she's a keeper.
Yeah.
All 5'2" of her.
When we get a chance, we
I
still got to try
cannot.
to get together and have dinner.
Oh yeah, I cannot fit my ass inside that car. I can't. She had no room sitting in it.
How tall was your
That's
son? He's
unbelievable,
a
isn't
big guy, right?
it? Built. He's like you, but he
Okay.
fits in it. He's
Okay.
built. But
In
that I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what model is, but that's their off road Lambo.
Yeah, their safari car of Lamborghini. So in the '90s, I was in the market for a Lamborghini SV, um, and then there was the SV Roadster, and I was looking at them. And in the back parking lot, like in there, like I call it their boneyard, they had a old Diablo sitting back there, like an original one, like I think it was white. And I even like a 25th anniversary, like nobody wanted it. And I was like, holy shit, that's what I fucking want. And I went back there and they wanted, I don't remember, like it might have been $60,000 or maybe it was 40. It wasn't like a crazy amount of money. Like the SV was like $225,000. Again, this is like
Right.
98. And, everyone's like, don't buy that car. And I was like, that's the poster car. I want one of these. This is the Diablo, like the original Diablo. And I was like, I want to go get in it. And they're like, and
No, you're not.
I went to go sit in that car and my head was hitting the ceiling. And at that moment I said, well, I'm not going to buy a car I can't fit in. And now that car is worth between 700,000 and $1 million.
I would have hit my head for that.
Yeah, and it's just like that. That's a car I should have bought it because it's what I originally wanted. And everyone was like,
And
"You'll
just
never get that car serviced. Whatever. You want the new one. You want the modern one." And they're worth fucking mint now. They
well,
went up during
well,
COVID, and they've not come back.
well. Back to my point. A $2,500 oil change. They actually send a flatbed. They come and pick it up.
Oh yeah.
They take it back to the dealership. This is all part of the sale.
Hmm.
They do the maintenance. He pays for the oil change, but he gets the free port to port out of it.
Yeah, that's real common. Bentley does that. Um, Ferrari does that. One of my old neighbors, they used to have their Ferrari picked up.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. He just for his work car, he just bought a Bentley.
Which one? What kind? Like a Continental GT
The
or like a real one?
the GT.
Okay, those I like those.
Yeah,
Those,
I thought it was a Mustang when he first pulled in.
dude, I have been saying that for years, and it pisses everybody off. The Continental GT looks like a Ford Mustang.
It does, and I told him so, and he got mad and left.
I have been the listeners of this podcast. I have been saying that for 10 years. I'm like, dude, it looks like a Mustang. And it's like, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, dude, that was, I love them. I mean, I drove one. I like those cars. I
Yeah,
don't think they're
they're
doing them with the big 12-cylinder engine anymore, but I think they're great.
well. His is extremely fast. I mean, beyond extreme fast.
They are
I don't know.
fast.
He's got It's got the GT, but then there's like another little dash with an underneath letter under it, whatever it is. It's let's just
Oh,
say
yeah, like the S or something, or the
whatever it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just say it really moves.
yeah. I mean,
It,
what's interesting about those cars is they're so heavy. I mean, like they're really neat. I think those Continental GT cars are neat. They're because they, they
well,
they have a lot of power, but they feel so stable. You know what I mean?
the
I've had
right
one
the
up.
dealer
I've done about 100 miles an hour in one,
really
and then
and that,
yeah, which wasn't
that
that fast. But then I was and she looked over at
well
me and
what
was like, she's like, "Come on," and I'm like, "Okay." So
un, unbelievable.
it
You
wasn't my
know,
car.
no, I drive a clapped out Kia and I'm happy. So 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 but when he pulls in his cars over here, I mean the neighbors are always peening and peering around, and this and that. And it's like, dude, I drink tap beer. You drink that high level stuff,
You need to get
but
a
I don't drink any of that.
you need to get a custom magnet made that says Ford Mustang GT on it and just surreptitiously put it on the back deck lid of the car so he's going down the street. You know,
Oh my god.
it, they,
Oh my
I'm,
god. World War III.
I'm a big fan of those cars, but I'm telling you, in the right light on from the side, they look like Mustangs.
And
Period.
you know me well enough. I'm always giving him the nuggies over that thing.
Oh,
One or
sure,
the other. You know what I mean? I got
sure.
to. And he gets so frustrated.
Oh, he
But yeah,
knows you love
it's
them. That's
yeah. I yeah, love them, yeah, tolerate them, hell no. But I mean, we're so night and day. You know what I mean? It's like it, whatever.
He's
That's him.
fine.
God bless him for doing what he does. I
He's
look at
out
it
there
that way.
slaying it every day. You know what?
Yes, he is
I mean,
too.
look, he's in the cars, and maybe in the guns. It's like, I don't hold that against people. I mean,
No,
my daily driver, I drive a clapped out Toyota pickup truck with a cracked windshield, bashed in fender, and a bent bumper. So, I
and
mean,
two hundred and 40,000 miles on it.
as a matter of fact, it's at 230, it's gonna, in within like 300 miles, it's got to go in for an oil change again. It'll be at 239.
Wow. Well, and also remember during the snowstorm, I hope you were in that because that got you to and from the range.
Oh God, yeah, I can't. I mean, that Porsche. I mean, that truck.
You wouldn't. You would have sat there and cried.
I mean, you're just dead meat. Like the truck getting out from the barn to the road. I was going to try to maybe clear that driveway, but I decided, I have to put the bucket on it, and the bucket's kind of in a spot where I have it up
Wait a
next to the
minute.
building.
You don't have the bucket on it for snow removal now?
No, I've got the grapple on the front of it because I've been doing tree work.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
right. That's right.
and there's a big bush hog on the back of it, and I leave it on for ballast. But, it's like I can drive through. It's like we're getting deliveries out there or anything. And so if it turns to ice, I
Well,
know it'll turn to ice, and I know, but the truck almost was kind of getting stuck. I mean, not really, but I mean, you're like, oh, you got to be careful. But
well, thank God you don't have the bucket on it because you would have cleared your driveway, the neighbor's driveway, the neighbor's neighbor's driveway. Because once you get in that thing, it's like summer. You don't want to get out of it.
yeah, the thing is, well, let me ask you this because, Danny was, he drove tractors for a living. And so, and salt trucks. And so one of the things you look at is like people with gravel driveways. You get on the internet and they're like, well, if you got a gravel driveway and you got a tractor, the best way to clear it, we suggest, is just using a rear blade, turning around
Yes,
backwards and
an
drag.
angle blade, a pull
Yeah,
behind you, rear
yeah,
angle blade. That way, you'll furl your row off to the side of the driveway.
yeah. And it's like, I didn't
But
want to
but you
risk.
do need the bucket though for digging out the drifts.
Yeah, so a reality is I need a rear
It's called a
blade.
it's called a it's called a drag blade.
Yeah, or I still think they call them rear blades around here. And you get one
Right. Well,
like
same thing.
if your tractor is 8 feet wide, get one that's 9 because you put it at an angle, it'll really end up being 8, right? Like
That's
that kind of
right.
shit.
That
Yeah.
correct. And
So,
then you drive, you don't need all that crazy because you're not going to use it a lot. You could buy them with the hydraulic that on the turntable that actually spins the angle or where
hmm
you want it, or you can get your lazy ass out there and just undo the pin and pull it to where you want it. There's two
yeah.
different types.
So I
The
decided,
hydraulic ones are much more expensive.
like, I literally was like today, I'm like, I could scrape this driveway up, but I'm gonna risk. I was like, it's not even worth it. I'm just gonna just keep tearing it up with the truck and just let like, okay, if I have to, if something happens and I have to drive off the driveway, I just drive into the field. It's like, and it's just as frozen as the driveway. It's like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's not like you're in like a nice neighborhood, like you can't drive your truck on your freaking lawn. It's like whatever. I'm not gonna. I was like, I'm just not gonna deal with this. I'll get a rear blade and in the future I've looked at them used, so I have not cleared the driveway to the barn at the John 1911 range. So
Well, it's supposed to be 38 degrees down by you this weekend, so nature will clear it.
bullshit. I mean, it's gonna be like -2 here. How are you seeing
I heard.
that
I
at?
thought it's supposed to be. I thought it was. We're supposed to get 32-degree weather here all weekend.
Oh,
So I
let's
figured
see
it'd be
here.
warmer down by you.
The temperature right now is 12 degrees,
Right.
uh,
It's cold out.
and Thursday will be 6 degrees the low. Well, the highs will be 36 on Sunday will be the high.
Oh, see, I
Um,
told you. I said 38. I was pretty damn close.
and 37 on next Friday. So,
See, why
yeah,
don't you listen to me once in a while?
we're going to get more snow on Friday. Are you getting snow up there?
Yes, they're talking a dusting. What's funny is the pattern has changed to where you're getting what we used to get.
Yeah,
It's all
maybe.
of a sudden. Look at Dallas is supposed to get 12 inches of snow. I heard.
What?
It's crazy.
In Dallas?
Yes, they're under storm warning.
I had no idea. I haven't, I've spent, I've been
You've
sick
been
and
out of touch.
I've been trying to, I'm literally behind on everything. Like I wanted to do a podcast over the holiday. I wanted to do this, and I just, had to run and do business stuff. And I got sick. Then I'm flying. I wanted to get flying to get there. Then, I wasn't even there long enough. Then I had to fly back. And then I'm like, under the covers, like, dying.
I
So,
real quick back to politics. Trump went on yesterday and he said basically how Jimmy Carter really messed up for giving away for the dollar the Panama Canal, and it
hmm
was really stupid on his part. Then today Trump flies in to be in the front row at the wake. So I'm thinking what Carter's family is thinking of this guy sitting there. Yesterday
yeah.
you called their grandpa an idiot, and today you're sitting here, Mr. Remorseful.
I mean, okay, let's just be real. I mean, Jimmy Carter is.
The second worst in my book. The one that's leaving is the first.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Carter was going to go down as the worst president in American history, at least in modern American history. And they thought that was pretty much a done deal. And then Joe Biden,
Came
like, oh my
along.
God, it's
hold
like
my
it can,
hold my beer.
yeah, and it's just, and like, look, I don't want to say, I remember Jimmy Carter was president. I don't want to say terrible things about, Jimmy Carter was a very honorable man. I mean, there is no two ways about it. Like Jimmy Carter is like Mitt Romney. And like, that's going to piss off a lot of people and say like, oh, fuck Mitt Romney. But it's like Jimmy Carter was, I mean, like, he had his beliefs. He was a true believer. He lived by his beliefs. But the reality is, Jimmy Carter's best days as a person were probably exemplified post presidency than during his presidency. You know what I mean? He
Right.
flew
With Habitat for
commercial.
building
He did
houses with Habitat for
Habitat for
Humanity.
Humanity and did all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's like, how can you not respect former President Jimmy Carter for his life after leaving office?
Well,
And he was basically a victim of circumstance when it comes to the Iranian hostage thing. I mean, that is really not his fault. and he did actually try to rescue them. It didn't work out, but he actually
No,
tried,
the
you know.
crash, and I know. I actually, I will not name names, but I personally knew one of the hostages.
You can name them.
Personally,
Yeah, well.
no, because it'll get my location.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well,
I'll tell you
like
off pod.
you look to the left and like Dick Cheney's sitting there next to you in the undisclosed locations. Like, where the fuck are you at? So, so it's fine.
No, I mean it will really pinpoint it.
Okay. Well,
Real, I'll tell you off pod.
okay. Tell me off pod. Be careful, people on the internet will find shit. So, you know,
Yeah, I know.
um, we've been going for a while. Oh, well, real quick, I wanted to mention the Blaser R8. Those Blaser guns with the broken firing pin. Um, They've
And the
got
6 hour
in
drive.
in Europe, they've got these in Germany, they've got these barrels that have an integral suppressor around the barrel. So on Blazers, you just
Really?
drop the barrel on, and it's like you're never going to get these in the U.S. I don't know how they're getting them in or if they're manufacturing them here, but Blazer USA, I believe, has announced that they're going to have the R8, the R8 Silence, at the SHOT Show. And I can't get Blazer to
Are
talk
you
to
going to
me.
go to SHOT Show this year?
No, no. Especially after being sick, no. I worked SHOT Show for a year for. I mean, I literally worked a booth on the law enforcement side, and it's like I still haven't recovered. I get so much more about SHOT Show just off the internet. I don't. I'd rather hang out with my friends. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I'm no, but I'd be interested in finding out about this Blaser R8 barrel. So what this is, so I can explain to people. Just imagine a barrel. They don't, you just drop them on. They self headspace. There's no real receiver on a blazer. But what they do is they put the shroud over the entire length of the barrel. So that expansion chamber, it's kind of like a Delis uh, carbine, like the integrally suppressed uh, Delis carbines that the OSS had during World War II. Except it's like you've
Right.
got this expansion chamber that goes down the whole length of the barrel. And so it's super interesting, to see, I don't know, what's that going to be like? Like, what's that going to sound like? But apparently they're going to have them in the U.S. But I have suspicions that the way this barrel is going to be so wide, it's going to be like a giant bull barrel that it won't fit on a standard R8 receiver. It probably needs something custom. So basically, there's no way I could probably even get it to work on my gun because I even have an aftermarket GRS chassis. Well, maybe, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see, what they can do. I'd like to do something with Blaser on it. Blaser won't. I had a contact at Blaser. I don't know if he's still there, but there's a woman that works at Blaser. She's this Asian woman, and I'm not trying to call her out, but I've tried to talk to her at the NRA show like twice, and she is not interested in talking to me at all. I don't think I've ever had anybody behind a booth be as dismissive to me as I've had this woman from Blaser, and it's nothing personal, but it's like there's nobody in there. There's nobody in their booth. Like there's not like there's people standing around. I'm like the big Blaser guy in America, and it's like they just don't give a fuck. And it's like, I mean, I'd laugh about it. I'm just like, okay, I guess I don't have enough gold rings on my hand, but
Well, you
I'll
did.
just get
Yeah, you did
one.
something to piss her off.
I don't think I pissed her off. I just don't think she just doesn't care. I mean, she just
She
don't even,
mad
I
at the
mean,
world.
it's not, she doesn't seem mad. She seems like she's the girl standing at the desk at the main dining restaurant at the five-star hotel, and it's like she's like, do you have reservation? She just, yeah, but it's
Ah,
just
yeah.
like, it's like they just don't care. Like you can't talk to them. They don't even.
That's not a good analogy because when we've gone to eat dinner, all of us together at a 5 star hotel, the girl at the desk couldn't have always been nicer to us every time we walked in.
Oh yeah, I mean I do great at five. I mean, like I am not familiar with five-star restaurant. It's the weirdest thing. It's just something about this girl at Blazer's cock blocking me, and she just doesn't. She doesn't care. Doesn't care. She doesn't care about John 1911. She doesn't care about tactical stuff. She doesn't care about snipers. She doesn't care about performance. I mean, like, if I walked in there, I feel like, and I was wearing, like, I don't know, a lion mane and said that I worked for some outfitter in, like, Zimbabwe, she'd probably talk to me. But it's just, it's getting me.
Are you trying to say you have no clout with her?
I have no, yeah, won't you give me a call sometime when you have no class? So it's like, so the chances that I'm going to be seeing one of these Blaser R8 Silence suppressor barrels is going to be like
Yeah.
zero, and for until Euro Optic pops up with them, and I could just buy one from their retail guy. So, um, um, well, we'll go ahead and call it. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
that's
been
good. Yeah, we've been on.
we've been
It
on.
felt good to
So
do a pod. It felt good to do a pod again.
yeah,
I'm
I keep
glad that
telling,
you're alive and kicking. I'll tell
yeah.
you what, if I would have been around you, you went into a coughing jag, you weren't getting mouth to mouth, we'd be burying you.
You better get someone to wipe that shit off your lip. I don't think you'll make it. So
You got problems with your lip.
my voice is already giving out anyway. So this wraps up episode 359 of the John1911 Podcast. You want to see more stories or pictures and links of anything we discussed, please go to the website at john1911.com. It's GOH1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night.
Bye bye.